the first episode of Season 2 of Hanna, Hanna and Clara have made a life together in the forest, in the same forest that she grew up in with her father. And because of that, she can even hear her father's instructions in her head about what to do in everyday life. But one day they end up getting hunted by a drone. And while they're able to evade it, they know that they're not in the clear yet. Now they're able to survive by stealing supplies from local hunters and a couple of cabins that are close by. And while Hanna is used to this lifestyle because she grew up with it, Clara isn't. But she does like Hanna's company. At one point while they're just kind of hanging out, Hanna notices that there's something lodged in Clara's arm. Clara explains it was put there by the people at the Utrecht facility, so Hanna cuts it out and says, "You don't need this anymore," and keeps it. Even though Clara likes being with Hanna and likes being free, she still wants to leave the forest. And it's very ironic that now it is Hanna who is the one telling her we can't leave, the forest is safe. She explains to her that just because the Utrecht facility that she left is no more doesn't mean there aren't others, and they're being hunted. And that drone that was after them wasn't after Hanna, it was after Clara. And Clara apologizes saying, "You're right, you're just trying to keep me safe," but she can't get the thought of her mother being out there out of her head. And she can track down her mother by living in a forest, even though she knows that Hannah's probably right. So one day she goes to one of those cabins that they break into and she finds a mother and daughter and explains to them that she's lost. She can't find her mother and she has no cell phone. She tells them her mother's name and they do a quick Google search and find her Facebook page that says that she's staying at a hotel in a town about 2 hours away. And the mother is willing to take her there. And this is all while Hanna is off hunting, having no idea where Clara is. So Clara, the girl, and her mother head off to meet with her mom. But that Facebook page wasn't actually real. After Marissa was picked up with the gunshot and was rehabbing, she gets reintroduced to a guy that she knows from her training days named John Carmichael. And Carmichael has her explain once again her story about how she got shot, how Hanna got away, what happened to Eric. And while she's sticking true to her story, it doesn't seem like he really believes it. He explains to her how all the girls were taken to another location called the Meadows to get acclimated to the real world. And while the Meadows is supposed to be in a secret location, it's actually in northern England, although the girls don't know that. They're given new clothes, new freedoms, new identity, and for the first time in their life, they're actually able to live like teenage girls. So this is really the final step in their training, and once they're done here, they get put out into the real world, where they can live a normal everyday life and not be noticed until they're needed, and then they can simply flip a switch and they have super soldiers. And no one's going to suspect a teenage girl is killing for the government. The issue is Clara, because the way that Clara acted wasn't supposed to happen. She wasn't supposed to act out. She was supposed to follow orders. And they don't know why that happened, so they need to get her back. And they need to figure out if she's a one-off or if this is a problem that can be fixed. Now, he doesn't buy her story. He thinks that she got way too attached to Hanna and let her go, but he's willing to sweep that under the rug if Marissa helps him get Clara back. And he reassures her that they're going to leave Hanna alone. So with not a whole lot of options, she agrees. So Carmichael tells him how they know she's in the forest, but Marissa says if they're in the forest, you're not going to find Hanna. She knows that terrain better than anybody. And Marissa's hunch is that the way to get to Clara is through her mother, because she saw who her mother actually is. And they're able to confirm through the girl that was living next door to Clara, a girl whose new name is Sandy, that she did in fact see her mother's identity. So they set up that fake Facebook page. Because the real story what happened to Clara's mother is that she was an immigrant who got accidentally pregnant, gave her baby up, and then disappeared. There's no trace of her whatsoever on the internet, and Carmichael even doubts the name that she gave them is her real name anyway. So when Clara shows up at the hotel being dropped off by that family, she's expecting to see her mother, but instead, she's greeted by Marissa Wiegler, who tries to immediately calm her down because she's annoyed that her mother actually isn't there, and she's been trapped, and Marissa tells her that her mother is dead. She explains how she's very important to them because they are all Clara has, and that she can have a completely new identity, and hands her the same book that all the other girls get, with the whole backstory, pictures, and everything. But Clara isn't interested in any of that. She wants her mother. And when she tries to leave, Marissa signals to her that it's not safe because the whole interaction is being watched by Carmichael in another room, but Clara doesn't seem to get the message. When she goes to leave, 2 soldiers come in, and she makes quick work of them, but then more soldiers come in and tase her and drag her out of there. Carmichael then walks in the room and offers Marissa her old job back, but she doesn't answer him and says, "You didn't really leave Hanna alone, did you?" And he goes on to explain that they found the cabin and there was a shootout. And one of the soldiers shot a gas tank that resulted in the cabin being blown up, and unfortunately, Hanna was inside. And that never meant to happen, but she's dead. And Marissa then kicks him out, but before he leaves his business card saying the offer's still on the table if you reconsider. But Hanna didn't die. I think she actually jumped into the porta potty of the cabin, and that's how she survived the blast, but either way, she's very much alive. And she was able, right before the shootout happened, to grab an address of the people that live there. So she ends up going to their house and demanding to know where they took Clara. And while Marissa Wiegler is sitting in the hotel lobby, kind of mourning the loss of Hanna, in walks Hanna and just waves at her. Now, I touched on the Meadows a little bit earlier, but let me explain that some more. Because Sandy is all in on this backstory idea. I mean, she's diving right into it. And their lead teacher at the Meadows is a guy named Leo who teaches them about the dangers in the real world. And while they were trained in combat at the Utrecht facility, they're going to learn how the world works here at the Meadows. The Meadows is there to hone their social skills. So one of the things they're instructed to do, just to be normal, is talk to their, quote, family members on Facebook. But of course, they're not actually talking to their family members because those people don't exist. They're actually talking to a CIA agent fresh out of Langley who is tasked with coming up with thousands of identities and talking to all the girls in these different characters. Basically, she's a one-man burner account. So that's who Sandy ends up talking to when she thinks she's talking to her mom. And Sandy made a friend named Jules, but Jules seems to realize that this thing is fake. And Sandy takes exception to that, saying, well, why can't it be real? If we get out in the real world, why can't we talk to our family? But this is another example of it seems like Jules kind of gets it, and Sandy doesn't. She doesn't have a family. This is all fake. Thank you for watching this recap. If you do not see the next one up in the corner right there on the end screen, don't worry, it'll be up shortly. Please consider following the channel. That'd be cool. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. And if you don't, there's a thumbs down button for a reason.